Welcome everyone. This is a great and safe place to start if you're new to yoga. No flexibility is required, and this is a simple and straightforward flow. We'll go through a few basic poses. During this practice today, no mat is required. You can just sit on the ground, but I would recommend a yoga mat if you have one. No yoga blocks are required. I would at least recommend having a blanket. You don't necessarily need a yoga blanket, but just having a blanket nearby that you can use for support during your practice today. During your practice today, really work towards focusing on your breath. Yoga is a physical practice, but it's also a breath practice as well. There's a lot of breath work with yoga. I'll provide cues during class for your inhales and exhales, but again, really working on focusing on your breath. It's okay if you're in front of or behind my cues. Again, really focusing on your breath, each inhale and exhale. We'll begin the practice today in an easy seat or cross-legged. You can use a blanket for support underneath your seat here. So if you have that blanket, maybe unfolding it. And if you're using a mat or the ground, just using that blanket for support. And sitting cross-legged on the blanket. And as you feel situated here, cross-legged, working towards thinking about energetically pressing energy down through your seat, grounding down into the ground. Imagine spreading roots through your seat into the ground. And then also pulling the crown of your head up high, finding length in your spine. We always begin here, a few moments to ground, a few moments to check in. Your hands can rest on your knees, your legs, wherever is comfortable. And as you feel situated, maybe finding a soft gaze or eyes closed. And dropping in on your breath. Really bringing all your focus to each inhale and each exhale. Noticing how your breath is flowing in your body. Again, yoga is a physical practice, but it's also a practice of focusing on breath. And like any practice, that takes time. It may not come easy at first, but again, continuing to practice it, continue to work on it. And keep focusing on each inhale and each exhale. Noticing the texture of your breath. Noticing how your breath feels. We'll spend a few moments here, again, grounding and focusing on our breath. A few more rounds of breath here. And as you feel ready, slowly unblinking your eyes. Maybe a few cleansing inhales and exhales. Maybe a few moments here for movement. Maybe shaking your arms out, your hands. Maybe rocking side to side a little bit. A few moments for natural movement. That's another part of yoga, is also moments to find natural movement. Just finding any kind of movement that's calling out to you. And also during your practice, during this yoga video or any yoga class, again, if natural movement's calling to you, maybe something that's different than what the teacher is cueing, the yoga teacher is cueing, that's okay. Working towards finding that natural movement and simply going with it. And as you feel ready for some movement, on your next inhale, arms up high, gaze towards the sky, and then exhale, hands to heart center. One round of breath here. One inhale and one exhale. And on your next inhale, bring your arms up high, gaze towards the sky, and then exhale, hands to heart center. One more round of breath. And inhale, arms up high. And exhale, finding a seated forward fold, only reaching out as far as you need here. That's okay if you're just reaching out here. Find what works best for you. And then as you feel situated here, work towards relaxing your head and your neck and your arms. We're only going to be here for a few rounds of breath. And on your next exhale, walk your hands towards your legs and then plant your hands. An option to swivel off to one side here. We're going to move into a tabletop pose. And recommend keeping your blanket on the mat or the ground and using this for support underneath your knees here. So again, finding that placement that works best for your blanket. And then moving into a tabletop pose, working towards stacking shoulders over your wrist, and then hips over knees. So take a few moments here to kind of find that placement that strong hand placement. And again, stacking shoulders over wrist. And as you're finding that hand placement, working towards spreading your fingers wide, really energetically pressing down into the mat. And again, stacking the shoulders over wrist and hips over knees. And your toes can be tucked here, tucking your toes into the mat or the ground. Or you can have your toes untucked. Find which works best for you on this day, and that may change from day to day, and that's okay. And as you feel situated in this shape, working towards core, in towards your spine, and the crown of your head pulling forward towards your mat, finding a little bit of engagement here. And breathe. A few rounds of breath here, a few inhales and exhales. Kind of feeling out this shape, feeling your breath flow in this shape. Notice how your breath is feeling. And then as you feel ready, we're going to move through a cow-cat flow. This is a very straightforward flow that you can move into from tabletop, and it's supportive of matching breath to movement for your practice. So as you feel situated in this tabletop, on your next inhale, cow pose, working towards dropping your navel and bring your gaze up towards the sky. And then exhale, cat, chin the chest, round your spine. Think about pulling your chin in towards your chest. And then inhale, cow pose. Again, dropping navel, gaze up high. And then exhale, cat, pressing down through your hands and round your spine. And inhale, cow pose. We're going to go through that a few more times. And exhale, cat. And inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. And inhale, cow pose. And exhale, cat. And then on your next few breaths, you can continue with that cow-cat flow if that's feeling great, or you can also practice some natural movement here, kind of feeling out, maybe moving side to side, maybe front to back, maybe finding some movement in your shoulders, your hips, leaning backwards or forward. Again, finding that movement that's calling to you. And finding that natural movement may also take practice and time as well. It's practicing listening to your body and also keeping your breath flowing here. And as you feel balanced here, return to that neutral tabletop. We're going to practice downward dog next. Only a few moments here to hold the pose. We're going to go through that a few times. An option to stay here in that tabletop to kind of just work on that engagement and keeping your breath flowing. But if you like to move on to downward dog or try downward dog, you can walk your hands one palm print forward. Again, really spreading your fingers wide, and imagine energetically pressing your index fingers and thumbs into the mat and kind of keep that engagement locked in. And then on your next exhale, downward facing dog, lift your hips up and then back, continuing to press into your hands here. And you can keep a gentle bend in your knees here. No need to lock out your knees or try to bring your heels to the ground. And breathe. Breathing into the shape. Feeling your breath flow here. One more round of breath. And on your next exhale, lowering back down into that tabletop pose. A few moments here for that natural movement. Again, maybe side to side, front to back. And noticing how your breath feels. Again, checking in with each inhale and each exhale. We're going to move through downward dog or downward facing dog one more time. Again, if you walk your hands forward, spread your fingers wide. Imagine keeping that engagement locked in, and as you feel situated, continuing to press into your hands, and on your next exhale, downward facing dog, lift your hips up and then back. And again, your heels don't have to touch the mat here. Keep a gentle bend in your knees. Continuing that strong engagement, pressing your hands into the mat. If you like to intensify the pose here, imagine energetically pressing your front body toward your thighs. Only a few more rounds of breath here, keeping your breath flowing. Stay with each inhale, stay with each exhale. And on your next exhale, lowering back down to that tabletop. Again, a few moments here for natural movement. Finding any movement that's calling to you. It might feel okay to relieve some pressure in your arms and your wrists and your hands. Just kind of shaking out your hands here for a moment. And then as you feel ready, again, returning to that tabletop pose. A few moments here to reinforce this pose. Imagine energetically pressing down with your hands. Again, navel in towards your spine. And breathe. And on your next inhale, lifting your right arm up by your ear. Fingers pressing forward. And exhale, lower your right hand. And inhale, left hand forward. And exhale, lower. And inhale, right. And exhale, lower. And inhale, left. And exhale, lower. One more time each side. Inhale, right hand up high. And exhale, lower. And inhale, left hand high. And exhale, lower. One round of breath here. And on your next inhale, lifting your right foot behind you, pressing your toes towards the back edge of your mat. And then exhale, return to that neutral tabletop. And inhale, lifting your left leg up high, toes towards the back. And exhale, lower. And inhale, right. And exhale, lower. Continuing to press into your hands. Inhale, left. And exhale, lower. One more time each side. Inhale, right. And exhale, lower. And inhale, left. And exhale, lower. And then again, returning to that neutral tabletop. And on your next inhale, extending your right foot behind you. This is also called three-legged dog. And then exhale, low lunge, bringing your knee forward and your right foot towards your right thumb. You may have to press it into the mat a little bit, but bringing the right foot right next to your right thumb. And one round of breath here, noticing how your breath feels. Again, keeping that blanket for support underneath your back knee. And on your next inhale, moving into a low crescent, bring your arms up high towards the sky. And then exhale, lowering back down to that low lunge, hands on the mat. We'll go through that 2 more times. Inhale, low crescent, arms up high. And exhale, lower your hands to the mat. One more time, inhale, low crescent. And exhale, lower. An option to stay here, or if you like to move on to a hold here, a low crescent hold, it'd be inhale, arms up high, and then hold, stacking your shoulders over your hips, and breathe, keeping your breath flowing here. And on your next exhale, lowering your hands down to the mat. And then inhale, tabletop, that right knee, right foot back. And again, a few moments here for natural movement. Maybe that's back to back, side to side. A few moments to find any movement that you need. And on your next inhale, extending your left foot behind you, toes towards the back edge of your mat. And exhale, low lunge, left foot to left thumb. It's okay if your foot has to come outside a little bit, but working towards bringing your left foot towards your left thumb, keeping your hands on the mat. One round of breath here. And on your next inhale, low crescent, bring your arms up high, stacking shoulders over hips. And then exhale, lower back down to that low lunge. And inhale, low crescent. And exhale, low lunge, hands on the mat. One more time, inhale, low crescent. And exhale, low lunge. An option to stay here, or you can inhale back up to that low crescent for a few rounds of breath here, a few moments to hold this pose. Noticing how your breath feels here. And on your next exhale, lowering your hands down to the mat. And then inhale, tabletop pose, left knee, left foot back. And again, a few moments here for natural movement, finding any movement that you need. And we'll move into a child's pose here, or devotional pose. If you bring your big toes to touch and your knees out wide towards the edges of the mat or your blanket, again, using that blanket for support underneath your knees here, and then lowering your front body down, bring your arms out in front, resting your forehead down on the ground. This is a moment of pause here, a few moments to rest. Again, still focusing on breath, still focusing on each inhale and each exhale. And on your next inhale, moving back into that tabletop pose. And then exhale, moving into a prone position, lowering down onto your front body. You can keep that blanket for support underneath your hips here or your knees, whichever feels most comfortable to you. We're going to practice a few prone back bends, including locust pose and cobra pose, Bhujangasana. We'll start with locust. If you bring your feet out behind you, your arms out in front, and then lowering your forehead down to the mat. A few moments here to breathe. And on your next inhale, lifting your right arm, lifting your left leg. One round of breath here. And then exhale, lowering back down. A few rounds of breath here. And only going up as far as you need here. During locust pose, if you lift up and you notice there's a lot of sensation here and it feels like it's a lot of work, and that's okay. Simply breathing into where you are. Feel your breath flowing in that shape. And on your next inhale, lifting your left arm, lifting your right leg. Again, only going as far as you need here. And then exhale, lower back down. A few rounds of breath. And now we're moving on to a full locust. So it's going to be both arms and both legs. Again, only lifting as far as you need here. If you're feeling a lot of sensation right here, then that's great. Breathe into it and feel your breath flowing in that shape. Moving on to full locust on your next inhale, lifting your arms and legs. Imagine squeezing in towards the midline of your mat. Again, only going as far as you need here. Imagine pressing energy through your fingers to the front and toes towards the back. And then exhale, lower down to the mat. You can spend a few moments here windshield wiping your legs. That might feel good on your lower back. And then as you feel ready, we'll move into a cobra pose. Starting from the back of your mat, moving into this cobra pose. Bringing your feet and your legs out long, untuck your toes. Imagine pressing down with the tops of your feet and your toes so your knees lift off the mat. And then bring your elbows along your sides, hands underneath your shoulders. Really strong engagement, squeezing your elbows in towards your sides. And then we're going to move into a baby cobra. So that's going to look like on your next inhale, lifting your front body. Imagine lifting your heart, little to no weight in your hands. And then exhale, lower down. We'll go through that one more time, allowing yourself a few rounds of breath here. And again, starting from the back of your mat, imagine pressing down with the tops of your feet and your toes into the ground, into the mat. Imagine pressing your hips down into the ground. Again, elbows pinned to your sides, little to no weight in your hands. And then inhale, imagine lifting your heart, lifting your front body. Again, only going as far as you need here. And then exhale, lower back down. And then we'll move into a crocodile pose, stacking palms out in front. A few moments here to reconnect with your breath. You can also use a second blanket for support here for underneath your hands and your forehead. If you go and switch out your hand placement, if you're using your hands here. And switching out your hands here, bringing your other hand on top. A few more rounds of breath here. Again, noticing your breath. Notice how your breath feels. And as you feel ready, we'll move back up into that tabletop pose. Again, elbows pinned to your sides. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Tuck your back toes. And then inhale, moving into that tabletop pose. We're going to move into a comfortable seat again, that cross-legged seat. Again, bringing that blanket for support underneath your seat here. And sitting down cross-legged. And switching out the cross of your legs here. If your right leg was in front last time, bringing your left leg in front. And again, similar to where we were grounding earlier, imagine energetically pressing energy down through your seat into the ground and the crown of your head up high. We're going to move through a few moments of cool down here. On your next inhale, arms up high, gaze towards the sky. And then exhale, finding a gentle twist towards the right. Bring your left hand to your right knee and your right fingertips behind you. Only twisting as far as you need here. We're going to be here for a few moments. Again, noticing how your breath feels. You can allow the energy and effort to start to dissipate. Starting to bring your energy down, starting to cool down. And on your next inhale, return to center, arms up high, gaze towards the sky. And then exhale, that gentle twist to the left, right hand to your left knee, left fingertips behind you. Again, only twisting as far as you need here. And a few moments here to notice how your breath is flowing in this shape, in this pose. And on your next inhale, return to center, arms up high. And exhale, hands to heart center, one round of breath here. We'll go ahead and lower down into our backs into a supine pose here. Option to keep the blanket here for support. Maybe you like it for support beneath your head. And then lowering down to your back into supine here. We're going to move through a windshield wiper flow. If you bring your feet onto the edges of the mat, if you don't have a mat, you can bring them about hip width distance apart, maybe a little bit wider. And then either your arms out to a T, overhead, or on your front body, or anywhere that feels comfortable to you on this day. And then on your next exhale, we'll windshield wiper flow to the right, drop your knees to the right. And then inhale, return your knees to center, and exhale to the left. And inhale, center. And going through that motion with your own breath, working to match breath to movement. Exhale, lowering, and inhale, returning to center. And exhale, lowering, and inhale, returning to center. And the next time you're on the right side, go ahead and hold and breathe, keeping your breath flowing here. Again, still allowing that energy and effort to dissipate. You've done the work for your practice. Now it's time to cool down and prepare. Now it's time to cool down, allowing your efforts to solidify. And on your next inhale, return your knees to center, and then exhale to the left and hold. And breathe. And on your next inhale, return your knees to center. And on your next inhale, moving into Apanasana pose, bring your knees in towards your front body, hands on top of your shins, giving yourself a gentle squeeze here. Squeezing in only as much as you need here. And also a few moments here for natural movement. It might feel good to maybe rock side to side. Maybe flexing your toes and your feet. And then on your next exhale, we'll move into Savasana. Savasana is the final resting pose for our practice, allowing all your efforts to solidify. So moving into Savasana, that'd be feet and legs out long, And your arms along your sides, palms facing up, taking up as much space as you need on your mat or the ground. So that might be here or might be here, spreading out as much as you need. Allowing yourself to really feel situated on the ground. Again, imagine releasing all your effort, all your energy here. Simply find a good place to rest. And as you really feel situated in this shape, really grounding down, really able to let go, take a deep inhale and exhale, let it all go. And we'll rest here for a few moments, and I'll call you out when it's time. And before coming out of Savasana, before you find any movement, really drop in on your breath here again for a few rounds. Really notice each inhale and each exhale. Again, feeling your breath flow. Notice how your breath feels. And then as you feel ready to move on, you can bring some gentle movement to your fingers, your toes, your wrist, your ankles. It might feel good to kind of warm up with your feet and your hands first. And then also option to take a full body stretch here, or any kind of movement that's calling to you. It might feel good to take a full body stretch. And then as you feel ready, bringing your feet onto the mat, and then slowly rolling over to either side and pressing up again into that comfortable seat, a cross-legged pose. Thanks y'all for spending some time learning a little bit more about yoga. In the future, I plan to provide a few more other videos kind of breaking down a yoga practice, yoga poses, really slower paced, really gentle flow, kind of like we did today. Thanks y'all for finding time to support your body and breath in a meaningful way. Take care.